Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time you are going to be watching this lecture. This lecture complements the previous one. The previous one was about knowledge capture, knowledge, acquisition and coding. And it is a bit general. Of course, knowledge capture is more intensive and it takes a great deal of effort with regard to tacit knowledge. But it also applies to explicit knowledge. Now, the knowledge that we get, that we acquire, capture, and code, and store, such knowledge is ready to be disseminated. However, there is a mechanism for dissemination or transfer or sharing that takes place among people, directly among people. So this lecture is going to be focusing on knowledge sharing and the communities of practice. First, let's just give some basic aspects or basic foundations of knowledge with regard to the role of the interaction and the communication that takes place directly among people. A great deal of that knowledge or that information is within people. Such information is vast, tremendous. What people know, their experiences, the events that they have gone through, the observations that they have made, the ideas that they have, the reactions to what takes place in the organization, how did they handle certain problems. Tremendous amount of information resides within people. People rely on getting information from other people. So, especially with regard to things that are emerging, things that are important, things that are current, dynamic, rather than going to formal sources of information and knowledge, people try to get the knowledge that they need from their colleagues, from their friends, from other people who work with them, who are their colleagues in the organization. So they rely more on the type of knowledge that people have rather than going to more formal or more impersonal sources of knowledge. Relying on people represent the preferred source of information for a number of reasons. One, if someone needs something and the information that he or she needs is urgent, is important, then going to a colleague, asking a colleague represent a much faster way of getting the answers or the knowledge that the person needs. It is not just that, but also it covers variety of aspects, variety of meanings or content. It is not just a dry piece of information, it is information that is rich with context, rich with timing, rich with conditions that it took place, solutions that have been tested or that have been applied, and it is also a credible source. You go to the people that you trust, that you think they have the right answer. So you select the people that you communicate with or that you rely on in getting what you need. And it provides what can be called meta-knowledge, that is, to answer a particular theme, a particular problem or search target, and it also relate to the capability of that source, and also it limits our search capability, meaning rather than trying to search in databases or in files or in documents or in statistics or in books or in guidelines, when you rely on other people, you kind of target better the source that will give you the right answers for what you need. There are two types of sources for sharing knowledge among people. Either through face-to-face communication, meaning what? You meet a colleague, you go to his office or her office, you meet them even in the corridor, you meet them after a meeting has been held and both of you are members of that meeting or that committee. You meet them in the cafeteria of the company. You meet them in whatever place. So you see them face to face. And face-to-face interaction allows you to get the knowledge that you want, and also to contextualize and give meaning. Because when someone tells you something, the tone of voice, the emphasis that he puts while he expresses what he has, the anecdotes, the events, the conditions, the surroundings, the many aspects can be given through what the person provide to a colleague, and the person receiving the information can also follow up with questions, clarification, can rephrase the question to make sure that the other person has understood exactly what he or she wants. So face-to-face communication or interaction is one way. The other way is interaction and communication through technological mediums. Meaning what? Through WhatsApp, through internet, through intranet in the company, through telephone conversation. So using technological medium to as a means to transmit, or as a means of interaction and the transmission of information. Let's talk now about a very important term here in the knowledge sharing, the term of community of practice or communities of practice. Communities of practice, I've mentioned it previously in the actual lecture, not just the online lecture, represent a group with shared interests, with shared profession, with shared expertise, with shared goals, used as a mechanism that relies on technological medium. So communities of practice here is a particular application of the kind of communication and interaction that takes place among people using media, using, for example, video conferencing, for example, internet, for example, WhatsApp, and so on. A community of practice is a group of people, as I said, having particular identity, distinguished characteristics, and professional interests. They have shared interests, and who assemble or gather to make use of shared knowledge among themselves in order to enhance their practice, their learning, and to create a shared value for the group, for the members of the group. They rely on one another to share experiences, share information, share solutions, share common concerns among them. They are not constrained by typical geographic, business unit, or functional boundaries. It doesn't mean that a community of practice would be, for example, located in a particular geographic location, in a building or a particular geographic area, or the headquarters, or a branch. A community of practice cuts across. It goes beyond the boundaries of geography or even the organization structure. You may find a community of practice constituted of people working in different units, different levels, different departments. And they could be even across functional areas. Maybe one person in marketing, two people from production, three people from customer service, and one or two from the IT, sharing knowledge in application or in relevance to a particular common interest that they have, and a particular domain of their professional practice. It's not just personal interest, it is interest related to their job requirements and job performance and job practice. We say community of practice. Community of practice. What does practice mean? What does it mean? It means knowledge in action, information in practice, and how people actually conduct themselves on the job. How do they actually perform their jobs, as opposed to what is perhaps written in the job description, as opposed to how their work should be done. It's not the formal profile of the job, but the actual practice, the actual performance, and the performance practices in reality. Knowledge management in general has two orientations. Information-based, that is more technical, and people or interaction based. Our subject matter here focuses on people or interaction based. So this is a branch or an area of knowledge management that is more concerned about the interaction that takes place among people. Let's now talk about the social nature of knowledge, and especially the knowledge that is shared among people, that is transferred through their interaction, communication, and networking, and so on. Knowledge is said to be actively constructed in social settings. Knowledge that relate to practice, that relate to real problems, that relate to real conditions, that relate to real challenges, real requirements of the job. So knowledge is actively constructed in settings that are characterized by people connecting and interacting and communicating and exchanging, collaborating, cooperating, all these various terms that represent what takes place among people. The production of knowledge takes place through group interactions, a particular type of knowledge, the people-oriented type of knowledge, of course, takes place through the interaction of people. Through such interactions and through the accumulation of experiences that people have with each other, a group memory is created and shaped and constructed. A memory shared by the group, people telling one another what happened. So instead of me knowing that management is planning to do that, or is requiring this, or that there is a problem in a certain domain or particular function, rather than me knowing this, I share this with other people. The sharing and the interaction and the reflections that people make and the assessments that they make, there is a culture that emerges among people in this respect, and a group memory of happenings, memory of events, memory of collaboration, memory of interactions, memory of accumulated experiences, the aggregated experiences of people belonging to the group. Not just that, but also shared understanding and meaning among people takes place. When I express my opinion and you express your opinion to me, and we share this with another set of people, the community of practice, then meanings emerge. What takes place acquires a meaning what? That the organization is flourishing, the organization is facing problems, that a particular unit is under pressure, that these various meanings that are shared among the group members emerge and get formed. People also have influence on the meanings and the shared reality that occur through their interaction. People don't communicate dry information, but rather information loaded with evaluation, loaded with ideas, loaded with meanings. So through that, a meaning or a set of meanings get developed among the group, and they become part of the group memory. Knowledge also is context dependent, meaning what? When you say that there is a problem that has faced people in the sales department, and that problem is caused by specifications, for example, of the product that was put in the market, in the supply chain. This piece of information has a time that this problem is taking place, and it is with regard to a particular group of people. For example, this the sales department or the sales team, and it is with regard also to a particular time the product was put into the supply chain. Not just that, but also who gave us this piece of information? Can we rely on that source? Can we trust that source? Can we believe that source? What is the meaning of this particular piece of knowledge or information would depend on our assessment of the source of information. So it is here, the information here or knowledge cannot be separated from who has it, who told it, who communicated. It is not dependent from the knowers that the people who know, the sources of knowledge, Captured and institutionalized knowledge to be useful, capturing a knowledge pertinent to the organization and its policies, its systems, its practices, can have a meaning only when it relates to the context within which it took place. When it occurred, as I said in the example, who is knowledgeable about it? Who was affected by it? Who submitted it? What are the ramifications of it? Were there any interventions pertinent to it? Variety of aspects that sort of crystallize the meaning of the piece of knowledge depending on the context, the various aspects of the context within which it took place. Okay, when we say that people share knowledge, interact, consult one another, share their experiences, we can identify who interacts with whom and regarding what, and how the knowledge was transferred into this network, the so-called social network analysis. Social network. If we talk about people sharing knowledge, people interacting, and through interaction they transmit and share knowledge, then we can map such relationships, including how the knowledge flows among or within such a network. In other words, we identify the actors or the people or the members who interact with one another. And as I said, it doesn't have to be within or following or adhering to organization chart or organization structure. If we are talking about a community of practice, then we need to identify who are the members of such a community and how intensive their interaction and communication, and what kind of knowledge that flows within them, and how such network operates. This technique, the so-called social, it's part of advanced practice or advanced application of knowledge management systems. The organization that has a system of knowledge, an advanced system of knowledge management, may use this technique called social network analysis. The relationships that need to be analyzed, the network that need to be measured, mapped, assessed, represent informal relations that enable people to seek help from one another and to share knowledge, to share experiences among one another. As I said, and I'm just emphasizing again and again, it doesn't have to follow, it doesn't have to abide by the formal organizational relationships or map or chart or structure. Social network analysis, if we know who interacts with whom and what kind of information or knowledge that flow in such network, how regular this interaction and under what condition such network is activated under, for example, certain performance pressures, certain problems, certain emerging needs that the group members need to intensively interact with one another. If we get this network mapping, sometimes it is called the organization X-ray. You know, the X-ray shows you the internal structure or internal functioning of a body or an entity. So this social network analysis is similar to the X-ray picture or measure. It shows the real networks and the interaction that operate underneath the surface. What is the meaning of underneath the surface? underneath the organization structure, underneath the organization chart, underneath the formal communication network. Because what? Because it captures, it represents, it reflects the actual communication and interaction that takes place among people. Social networks and knowledge flows within these networks can be measured and evaluated. As I said, the companies or the organizations that have advanced system of knowledge management try to measure these networks of interaction among people. Now, what you get through this analysis, the chart that you build out of the various people who interact, and what is the substance, what's the content that they share among each other. If you capture this, if you map it, this represents a particular time. It is not a permanent network, a permanent structure, a permanent profile of the linkages and communications taking place among people. It is something that takes place every day. It is something that changes. It is dynamic and moving. Meaning what? Meaning that if the organization engages in social network analysis, it needs to do that, periodically. Because if you map the network among a particular community of practice group, this represents, a certain period of time. So a month later, 2 months later, conditions have changed. The network, the interaction, the knowledge flows will change accordingly. So you need to update, you need to keep updating the network chart and the network analysis. Now, how to conduct, how the social network analysis is done? You do it by asking people. You do it by going to people and ask them, with whom do they interact, with whom do they communicate, with regard to what type of information or knowledge or questions, problems, issues, subject matters. So you ask people either through questionnaires that ask with whom do you interact, for what type of exchange, what type of knowledge, under what conditions, in what circumstances. You put this in a questionnaire and you get the data. And when you get the data, you analyze it to construct the network or the map representing the social network in this regard. Or you interview people. So to alternative and sometimes complementary. Either you rely on questionnaire or you rely on asking people through interviews about with whom do they interact and what are the subject matters and the substance of their interaction. If what you get through the questionnaire would not be sufficient, then you can complement the information obtained through the questionnaire with interviewing the members or the participants or the various people in the community of practice or the network that you are trying to study, try to analyze. Conducting social network analysis, as I said, it tries to capture, tries to identify who communicates with whom, and communicating among people regarding what, to identify the substance that is being shared or communicated. Now, what you get here represent the actual, as I said, the actual network, the actual communication, or a term here that can be used, the undernets. The undernets. What does the term undernets mean? It means the internets, the communication through which people share knowledge that actually takes place, that escapes the official channels of the organization. If, for example, the organization has intranet among the various positions to share questions, knowledge, information, events, whatever. When you go to, when you conduct the social network analysis, you capture something beyond what the organization has officially constructed as official channels of communication. This is called the undernets, meaning what? Under the surface, underneath what can be observed. Okay, there is a term here that is important to know, the so-called community yellow pages. Community yellow pages. Maybe the term yellow pages is not common in Egypt, but the yellow pages is like the telephone directory that enables you to know the addresses, the telephone numbers of various providers of services, trades, companies, the business, the classification of the sectors, the activities, the type of business, and the providers of whatever, if it is an industrial company, if it is a commercial company, if it is a bank, if it is a service organization, you can, in the States, for example, yellow pages enable you, if you want to have a carpenter, if you want to have plugger, if you want to have an electrician, if you are searching for a particular commercial company that sells certain particular items, you can go to the yellow pages and identify the companies or the providers of whatever you need to know. So the term yellow pages originally has this meaning. Now, in the area of knowledge management, the community yellow pages is similar to the yellow pages that I have just described. But here it is applied to the expertise, the knowledge, the skills, the know-how that people have. If, for example, in the university, I want to know who is highly experienced in a particular area, in public economics, who has expertise in the area of accounting, who has expertise in the area of strategic planning, who has expertise in a particular domain. I could construct for the university a document or a database that contains, who knows what, who is an expert in what, classified by the area of expertise, not by alphabetically, not by the area of expertise. So it is an expertise location system. Expertise location system, that means what? Enables me to locate the particular expertise, the particular speciality, the particular know-how in the organization with regard to the different areas of activities and different domains of practice. This would help in contributing to responding and fulfilling the needs of the organization in various areas. This community yellow pages could be used in mentoring programs, in programs that enable people to get support, to get help, to get mentoring services from the people who know quite a bit in a certain area. It can identify also the knowledge gaps. If we are looking for someone and we find out that we don't have an expert then in this area, then this would be a knowledge gap. It can also provide performance support. If I have a problem in a certain area, I could look into the community yellow pages, community of practice yellow pages, and identify the people who have expertise, who can provide the answers, the help, the support in this regard. They represent excellent means for wide-scale knowledge sharing, because when you have this list of various domains of expertise or know-how and listing of the people according to their specialty, then you are availing to all the members of the organization sources for knowledge sharing. You could rely on the people, you could ask them, you could get their help, you could get their answers to whatever represent knowledge needs or a particular decision that needs this particular expertise or specialized knowledge. Okay. This is a continuation of the subject matter of knowledge sharing and communities of practice. The term that we are going to focus on now is knowledge sharing communities. The main characteristics of these communities is that they have common or joint goals. They have mutual engagement. That is, that all the members in the community, in the group, they interact, they engage, they rely on the group for getting knowledge, getting answers, sharing particular experiences. They have also shared means of interaction and communication. Meaning what? They share the knowledge or the experiences during particular times, during particular events or space. They utilize a common technology. So it is they get connected through not just the joint goals and the mutual interaction, but also with regard to the context of time, space, and communication technology. They are self-organized, means what? Nobody organizes them. It's not the organization or the company that imposes on them that they have to form, but rather they are empowered to manage and to direct and to engage in whatever they share and communicate. And they are also self-controlled or regulated. Again, they rely on their own resources to coordinate and control and regulate the activities. Let me just give an example, maybe from the students, the community of students. It could be that a number of students may form a group to share knowledge about a particular subject matter, a particular class, a particular theme, to get to know what is required in that class, what has been the assignments, what is the updated information, what has the instructor, and to share among the group the various views, or maybe the people who will collaborate in summarizing, in sharing knowledge, in searching for certain terminology or certain concepts and sharing this with the group. If a group is formed with this joint goal among the students and mutual engagements, meaning what? That all the members would have to have inputs and would have to engage and interact, and they utilize, for example, they utilize the internet, they utilize the WhatsApp, they utilize a particular medium for their communication. They are self-reliant, self-organized, and also self-regulated. They sort of keep the momentum and keep the communication going and keep updating one another with regard to what. This is a good example of a knowledge sharing community. The types of the knowledge sharing communities depends or vary according to certain criteria or classification. One of such a classification is the content of their interest. Particular profession they belong to, the work-related function, this particular group belongs to, the problem area, the topic, the theme, the sector, the industry. These are various means to classify these various groups. As I said, these groups are self-organized. Either self-organized, and sometimes they may receive sponsorship from the organization. So either self-organized or organization-sponsored groups. Organization-sponsored groups meaning that the company will avail the technology, will avail the support, will accept their formation, will kind of give them and provide them with whatever resources or sources of information that they need. They may vary also according to the type of recognition provided by the organization to which they belong. So either the organization would recognize them and deal with them and support them and provide them with the resources that they need, or there is no recognition. So it's either they are recognized or not recognized by the host organization. There are various types also of knowledge sharing communities depending on the type of online technology that they use. So variation here depends on the type of online community they are. Remember, and it is important to emphasize here that the knowledge sharing communities are different, are distinctively different from work teams or project groups or open membership hobby groups. For example, people who are supportive of a certain athletic team, they may constitute a group to share information about that team. This is not a knowledge sharing community. A knowledge sharing community has joint, specified goals, mutual engagement, shared means of communication, so on and so forth. So it is important to distinguish them from the regular types of groupings, teams, project groups, or hobby groups. They usually have a business focus, a business theme, or a business case, and a code of ethics or conduct, a set of goals, mission statement, they have particular elements or distinguishing attributes that differentiate them from other groups. What are the roles and responsibilities in communities of practice? In general, communities of practice. Of course, as I have mentioned, communities of practice, group of people belonging to a particular specialty or profession, having common specific goals related to their job performance, and they have means of organizing, coordinating, controlling, regulating their activities. Now, these groups vary according to how intensive the participation of their members. So there is variation among groups with regard to the extent of participation or the intensity of participation. But within the group, also group members within a particular group members vary with regard to the extent of communication, interaction, participation of their members. Some members may be more active in participating, in asking, in contributing, in inquiring, in sharing information. Some other members may be less active, less participating in this regard. Okay, now, what are the type of members? What are the key roles according to the type of members of the group? Members vary. There are the visitors, people who visit, who enter, who interact, but they are not intensive contributors. Okay? There are also the novices, the new members who have joined the group recently. They are called novices. And there are the regulars, the regular contributors, the regular participants. And there are the leaders, people who take or who are in charge of organizing, coordinating, and controlling the operations of the community. And the last group of the types of members, a group called, or members who are called the elders. Who are the elders? Not by age, by the way, but by being subject matter experts. These are the people who know more, who are good sources of expertise and know-how. They are called the elders. Elders meaning seniority in expertise, knowing more, not in age, not in time, but rather in the extent of knowledge and know-how with regard to the subject matter. Okay, roles also vary according to the function or the activity that people or members perform. We have the champion of the community. The champion is the person who provides strategic direction, who makes strategic decisions, who provides strategic support. The sponsor is the person who is linked to the organization, is linked to provide needed information, needed support, to express requests on behalf of the group to the organization. We also have the facilitators. The facilitator is the person facilitating communication and activating and orchestrating, organizing participation and perhaps events that the various groups would share or would participate in. There is also the practice leader. If we have a particular subject matter, we have a particular theme, for that theme there is a person who knows more and who is capable of mobilizing the information and providing it to the rest of the people in that particular theme is called the practice leader. And we have something called the Knowledge Service Center. It's a role. It's a role. The Knowledge Service Center is an entity or a function that maintains, that keeps information provided, disseminated, and shared. Make sure that the members are continuously updated with what they need to be informed with and to respond to their needs in this regard. Okay. There is a term here that we need to know. Well, the term here is unique to some extent. It is knowledge broker. Knowledge broker. This is a person with a number of communities who is a member in a number of communities, and through such membership he or she removes the redundancies, the overlap, the repetition, the conflict, and create alliances and synergy and coordination and collaboration among these entities. The fact that he has linkages with more than one community enables him or her to perform such roles of coordinating and removing redundancies and creating synergy. A good knowledge sharing system, this would be a concluding statement here, a good knowledge sharing system should connect two sets of people, should link and respond to the needs and provide linkage and integration between two sets of people. People generating or producing knowledge. People who have the knowledge. People whose experience represent important elements of knowledge. We call them the people producing, the people who produce knowledge. The knowledge producing people. The knowledge producing people. And to link these, of course, the knowledge producing people need to be connected among themselves also. But it is important to link them to the people who need, apply, and use knowledge. So a good knowledge management system should not just focus on the production, the capturing of knowledge, but also to link the people who generate the knowledge to the people who utilize and apply such knowledge. And this is the end of this lecture. Good luck to all of you.